After putting in hundreds of hours into Genshin Impact, these are the top 10 weapons recommended for free-to-play players. Even if it's not the prettiest weapon in this list, the Debate Club sure knows how to end conflicts. With an excellent substat for attack, you can easily start scaling your Claymore user's skills and basic attacks without too much effort. And the passive skill is also a very nice addition to an already solid weapon, which will cause a small explosion in an area that will deal pretty good damage once the weapon is at max refinement. Basically, the Debate Club is a catch-all strategy for all Claymore users, especially if you don't want to immediately focus on one character, and will serve as an excellent weapon from early to mid game. Once you're ready to upgrade your Claymore, Prototype AMINUS is a very safe investment for most of the characters because just like the Debate Club, it will increase attack percentage from its substat. And while the passive skill won't provide the biggest boost in consistent damage because of a long 15-second cooldown, it will still be extremely potent, especially if you have a good crit damage stat, which will result in some attacks just literally deleting the enemy in one hit. And Prototype AMINUS can be used by nearly any Claymore user without too many drawbacks, even if it's someone like Luke or Chongyun who will be dealing elemental damage, so the benefit of an increased attack from substat will help them out immensely. When it comes to bow users, probably the easiest choice to go for would be Slingshot, even if the passive might scare you away. It will basically reduce your damage if you attack enemies from far away, so you will need to keep a close distance, but in return, you get critical rating from its substat and even a decent damage boost at close range. Although this is an early game bow, and the general rule to follow would be to keep increasing attack before any other stat, the reality is, the other 3-star weapons are just lackluster in comparison and don't bring much in terms of value. Luckily, the next upgrade is a more reliable source of damage you can get for your bow users, and that's from the Prototype CRESCENT's substat. And while the passive skill is a little modest, not to mention the trigger effect is also demanding, since you need to hit the enemy's weak spot with your aim shot, but this is still an excellent bow for anyone who is a free-to-play player and want to have good damage from both their basic attacks and skills as well. If you're willing to take one for the team, then Trilling Tales of Dragon Slayers would like to have a word with you. Although it has a health substat, it won't make your Catalyst users stronger individually, but the passive skill it brings into the fights will be something your main damage dealer is going to look forward to. And at max refinement, once you switch to another character, you will get a chunky 48% increased attack buff for 10 seconds. And as you can imagine, this is an especially lucrative weapon for characters like Barbara or Sucrose who are more focused on providing support. Once you're ready to branch out, then MAPPA is going to be your budget weapon. Although your basic attacks and skills won't become stronger due to the Elemental Mastery substat, you can at least expect some spectacular damage from elemental reactions instead. And there's no one better in the game than a Catalyst user when it comes to elemental reactions, since your basic attacks deal elemental damage by default. And what's nice about MAPPA is that it also sort of compensates for lack of attack substat with the passive skill, which increases your elemental damage bonus once you trigger an elemental reaction, and you can easily expect this buff to have a reliable uptime without worrying too much. It's a lonely life for Xiangling, as she's currently the only polearm user in the game, but at least she and future polearm characters can look forward to some great weapons, which this time around, if you're just starting out, it will be the Halberd. And this is an easy weapon to go for, no matter if you're going to be support or main damage dealer, since the attack it provides from its substat will increase your overall damage, and not to mention, the passive is also going to be a cherry on top. Now if you're ready to start dealing some serious damage, making the switch to Crescent Pike is going to yield some incredible results. Although it might seem the passive skill is hard to trigger, it's actually quite easy since your elemental skills, except for a few characters, will generate these elemental particles. And once you got the buff activated, you're not dealing 20% increased damage, but even better, each of your attacks will generate an extra attack that's going to be 20% of your real damage. Basically, you're now dealing almost double the amount of attacks, and each of them can become critical hits, and you also get the benefit from the physical damage bonus which the weapon substat provides. Before we continue onto our last remaining weapons, here's a few honorable mentions that work exceptionally well with some characters in the game. The first one is Compound Bow, which is going to be an insanely useful weapon for players who want to play Fischl as their main damage dealer. You can easily craft this weapon from the blacksmith, and the physical damage bonus it provides, not to mention the consistent passive skill, will transform your Fischl or any bow user into someone who's capable in dealing strong basic attacks. And the second weapon would be White Blind. This is an exceptional weapon for Noelle, since the defense substat is needed for her skills to scale, and the passive skill is actually so strong that it almost rivals with Prototype AMINUS in terms of overall value. If there's one thing the developers love in Genshin Impact, then it would be the sword users. With so many characters to choose from, the most safest investment when you're starting out is going to be the Fillet blade, and it has everything you want from a weapon. Attack from the substat and a passive that is the younger sibling version of prototype AMINUS. It also just so happens that Jean and Chi-Chi are both sword users that benefit from attack which scales with their healing appropriately. All in all, this is a sword you won't regret using until mid-game. The final weapon on this list is something that everyone should have in their backpack, and that's prototype RANCOUR. Although it gives physical damage bonus from its substat, most of the sword users, aside from few, actually benefit from increased attack damage, since characters like Jean heal from their basic attacks, and if you're using the Traveler as your main damage dealer, then obviously this is just going to make them stronger. Finally, it's worth mentioning the passive skill will increase your base attack and defense by a sizable amount just from hitting the enemy a few times. All in all, a very solid weapon that's completely free-to-play friendly. Picking the top weapon for your character is just one piece of the puzzle, since everyone's situation is different, and for this reason, this video was made with an intention to only address 3-star weapons and anything that can be crafted from the blacksmith. You must also take into the account artifacts and weapons you can get from the gacha system, as well as the fact that many characters are unique and work best with specific weapons, like the example you saw with Noelle. Either way, getting to know at least few good options when you're just starting out should help you out in the long run, not to mention this should help you understand which weapon can give the most benefits to more than one character. Enjoyed the video? Make sure to subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon, and gently press the like button. Don't forget to check out our other Genshin Impact guides, which also includes a tier list that you can also visit on our website gachagamer.com. Thank you for watching us.